Now, show me again where it says I must sit down, and I cannot do this because the rules of the Brown Act say I cannot make noise, interfere with anybody's view, or turn on lights only. Brown Act, people. If you don't believe me, pull it out.
Brown Act, he can film the meeting.
Yes.
That's right.
We all film the meeting, so...
And I've done this for 25 years. Ask anybody to see me at LA Unified, right, dude?
This is the rule you're asking for. It's A. Each member of the audience must be seated.
Now, wait a minute. When I'm videoing, that doesn't work.
Only when you're credentialed press.
Show me that rule. You laughing? I know more about the law than you guys even know. You're going to watch something real interesting here soon. And your smile is going to come off of your face. You want to see your chief go to jail? I got it, dude. You understand that? So you use your intimidation with these people. It don't work here. I'm a former director of policy for Core California. Did all the work on fixing AB 109. That means I know way more than you fools. Okay? Yeah. You better line that up with the Brown Act too, baby. So while we're recording this, I'm still waiting, and you're not too good because obviously you don't know it. Okay, we got A.
Good morning. Today is Tuesday, October 25th, 2016. This is the regular meeting of the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Good morning. Let the record reflect Commissioners Johnson, Sobroff, Figueroa, and Goldsmith are present, and we have a quorum.
Thank you. Before we start the meeting, I want to start off by offering my condolences on behalf of the entire Board of Police Commissioners to the family of Detective Nadine Hernandez.
Yeah, I got to get this now since you guys don't know what you're doing.
Partner in our community, the Chief Beck and Commissioners McLean Hiller at her funeral this morning. So again, on behalf of the entire Board of Commissioners, we offer our condolences to the family and it's a great loss for the department. Second thing I wanted to note was that on Friday of last week, I attended an event at Challenger Boys and Girls Club called Building Bridges Through Basketball. It was a great event. The NBA and the WNBA had some of their players participate, along with Brotherhood Crusade and LAPD members from both the 77th Division and Community Relationship Division. Chief Scott was there. It was facilitated by Days of Dialogue, and it was a great event to promote understanding and communication between the community and the department. So it was a great success. I also attended the use of force training that every officer is going through in the department. I attended that last week along with McLean Hill as well. And that is the training where every officer is going through 6 different scenarios in addition to classroom instruction as well. I was very impressed with the training and the realism in the scenarios and the feedback that the officers got going through the scenarios and also that they did back to the training division afterwards. And lastly, on Thursday of last week, Commissioner Shane Goldsmith and I attended a CPAB meeting for North Hollywood. I guess we were about 30 or 40 people, 30 or 40 community members there. It was a great opportunity to share what we're doing on the commission and hear their concerns in the community. Any other commissioner comments this morning?
Yeah, you also went and so did I, like under the commissioners to the funeral up in,
Yes, we did.
up in Lancaster where I think there were 700,000 people. And I just wanted to read 2 tweets that I think are interesting. NPR tweeted yesterday morning, the radical activist Tom Hayden, who died Sunday, served in the California legislature for 18 years. I tweeted back to them that radical activist and this non-radical commissioner had a lot of breakfast to chat about LAPD. He acknowledged great progress and encouraged more. He was a friend of mine, and may he rest in peace.
Guys, a little recount here. It's gonna get over.
Consent items? Do we have any comments on any?
On consent agenda items, we have 3 comment cards on item 1A. And 1D, I'm sorry. 1A and 1D.
Do any of my fellow commissioners wish to pull any of the other consent items? I have a motion to approve items 1C, D, E, F, and G. Do I have a second? All in favor? Any opposed? So let's just go right to the comments on item 1A, please.
We have Michael Williams, General Jeff, and George Bezzetti. This is relative to the travel authority for the chief of police to attend the Major Cities Chiefs Association meeting.
George Bazzetti here, I don't know about anybody else. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't think the chief should be going no place. Okay, he needs to be here dealing with the stuff that he's doing. He should be resigning. That's what he needs to be focused on. What is he going to do after retirement? How is he going to, make a living for himself? Because like cops, former cops, it's kind of tough out there for them. What's going to happen because we're going to go after his pension because he's a murdering person. So he needs to focus on that. He don't need to be going nowhere to go to no Major City Chief Association because he's not the chief of LA. He's the former chief, effective when the people said so. So you need to keep him right here because he needs to be worried about what he's going to do, whether he's going to retire. He needs to think about that because we need him to retire like today, by the weekend at most. We need that done. So we need him to resign and retire. He don't need to be going to no place, not a place. They don't need to be leaving nowhere, okay? And I'm actually looking at this, and this has already happened, so why is this even on here? Did you spend money? You didn't want to show the money that it's spent to send him on this trip because you're using people's funds, people who don't want the chief here. You're using their money to make the chief go all around the world to spread the message of let's kill people. Because that's what you're doing. You send him over to places and they say, okay, we're going to adopt the LAPD's model. Well, the LAPD's kill the most people. And even if you look at the stats by population, we're still middle of the road. So how in the hell are we the example, or he's the example of what a police chief or what a city police force should look like? You need to be staying here, and you need to be talking to him about resigning. Actually, all of you can fire him, so you need to be working on that and keep his ass here.
General Jeff.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commission. General Jeff, Skid Row community activist. Per the Brown Act, the agenda needs to disclose what the dollar amount is. If you look at all the other dollar amounts on this consent items, they actually are in the actual agenda. This item needs to be pulled because it is a major violation. That we, the people, have no idea how much this trip cost. It wasn't a one day. Apparently, it was minimum 3 days, October 13th, 14th, and 15th. It is a violation of the Brown Act. Please pull this item and come back with and let the public know the full disclosure, what the amount was of the travel. Thank you.
Mr. President, if I may, this is just the travel authority upon which you submit an expense statement. That will come back to the commission. This is the authority.
Thank you. And the cost is actually in the report, which was lodging was $721 and the per diem is $64 a day.
Certainly, it's in the
Motel 6 or something. Got 72 hours on that? Brown Act.
Brown Act.
I know if you don't, just ran into a bed here 2 times. George Bazzetti, former Director of Policy for California. Sheriff Barker gave me this pen. I worked closely with him on fixing AB 109, how you know it. Why are aren't you going back there and talking about y'all breaking the 2003 DOJ agreement with the help of the DOJ?
Sir,
Anita Gupta, no, this is on this. Having to do with Chief. All of you signed it, having to do with you coming together. Are you going to be talking about the 2003 DOJ agreement, all of you breaking it?
Sir,
Charlotte,
this item relates to the travel authority for the chief.
I'm talking about that. Why should he be going? I want to know what he's going to talk about there. Are you going to talk about your law breaking here? Are you going to talk about you erasing the audio of the 5/5/15 police commission meeting, dude? That you took down off your website, but I have saved on mine from the day you did it, dude. And you have no right being here. You have no background in criminal justice, do you? All you do is take care of rich guys with sports. When they got legal trouble, you have to send it over to somebody with experience. What are you doing here? What are most of you doing here? I looked at you. You ain't got no background.
You're still off topic, sir.
I'm on topic. Because you're off topic. You don't spin me, dude. I'm a real civil rights leader. Ever heard of Core California? We're the only honest ones in this town. The work you didn't do fixing AB 109, I did. Want to see the proof?
This is your last warning to get back on.
That's you. I'll just go back right now. I got two more times to come and speak on topic, unlike you.
Do I have a motion to approve item 1A? Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Do we have any comments on item 1B?
Hey, Matt, you would have thrown one of his
We have
out there
none,
on topic.
I got started out last week.
No, really.
No comments on
Only
1B?
people of color get thrown out.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Do you have a response to that?
All in favor? Any opposed?
Did you have a comment card on 1B?
Oh, 1B? Oh,
I told you, dude, I'm a pro.
We have Michael Williams.
You watch one.
Michael Williams on item 1B.
You guys don't report at all.
This is relative to a monetary donation in the amount of $5,000 from the Los Angeles Police Foundation.
Real time. You know, real time.
The LAPD, are you talking during what I'm talking, Matt? You're disrupting the meeting, Matt.
I didn't realize you were there, Mr. Williams.
I haven't tried to
Disappeared?
Disrespect.
You don't need a holiday party, and especially for not even $5,000. That's ridiculous. I mean, we throw parties all the time for like $20, right? So like that's ridiculous. You don't need no $5,000 to throw a holiday party. You don't need a holiday party, period, because all of y'all have been giving us bad Christmases. Mothers, brothers, sisters, fathers have to go on Christmas without their loved ones because y'all killed them. So y'all don't deserve no holiday party no way, because y'all ruined the holiday for so many people, so many families.
move a little bit more.
They're not going to have their children at Christmas. They're not going to have their mother, their father at there. So y'all don't need to go, y'all don't even have any kind of parties or have anything, especially for no $5,000. You need to give that to Chitopia.
I want everybody to get this.
You need to give that to Lisa Simpson. You need to give that to Cardinal Snell's mom. You need to give that to all the other people who y'all have killed. That's where that $5,000 donation should go. But you have no shame, you have no sympathy, you have no kind of compassion for families that have been killed by the police. So you know what? I'm telling you, we should shut that thing down. We should find out. Because you guys, that's ridiculous that you guys are basically celebrating the fact that you guys are the most murderous police department in the whole entire country. We should shut that shit down because that's not what the taxpayers want. That's not what y'all should be spending your time on. I know it's a donation, but if you guys had any kind of sense, if you guys had any kind of compassion, if you had any kind of common sense, and this is to the police in the room, if y'all had any kind of care for the people that you ruined lives of, took away people from, if you had any kind of sense, you guys would put this money, every money that's donated on that sheet should be going to the families of people you killed. That's a long list.
And we have no other comment cards on this item, sir?
Do I have a motion to approve item 2D? 1D. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
We're on item number 2, regular agenda items. We have comment cards on 2A, 2B, 2D, and 2E.
Okay. On item 2C, do any of my fellow commissioners feel a need to hear that report? Do I have a motion to approve it? Do I have a second? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's go to item 2A, please.
There's no comment card on 2F either, sir. Oh, there is one. Okay. So on 2A, Inspector General's report dated September 28, 2016, relative to the inspection of taser and beanbag shotgun deployment.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, the Commission. The Office of the Inspector General conducted an inspection of the deployment of 2 of the department's less lethal options, those 2 being the taser and the beanbag shotgun. To conduct this inspection, we looked at deployment from 3 different perspectives. First, we inspected the department's methods for assigning and supervisory checking the assignment of tasers. Secondly, we examined 8 areas of the department's 21 patrol areas, and for those 8 areas asked the area commands to provide us 1 use of beanbag shotgun and 1 use of taser after the September 15 the policy change where that was possible. We examined, the purpose in doing that was to see whether the first responding officers had the less lethal options with them when they arrived. The third option that we did are the 12 dates that we identified in the table for those incidents. We examined all officers who were on duty in the 8 areas on those days. It was a body of 490 officers. And the purpose was to see out of that entire population of 490, how many of the officers had less lethal options in their possession. We found that 14% of the officers did not have tasers, and 22% of the officers did not have the optional beanbag shotgun with them. Based on this inspection, we came forward with 3 recommendations. First, we recommend that the department's KITS system, which is the tracking system for handing out equipment, that system be modified so that when tasers are checked out, that rather than having them checked out just to the 2-officer unit, that the tasers are checked out to an individual officer so the department could identify, in the case of a car where only 1 taser is provided for 2 officers, the department could identify which of the 2 officers did not have a taser as policy requires. Secondly, as part of our inspection, we noted that the department, according to the commands, did not have a sufficient number of beanbag shotguns for all units to be properly equipped. Therefore, we're recommending that the department examine purchasing additional beanbag shotguns so that all of the units in the field can be equipped. And if that is a viable option, we suggest that the department modify its policy to require that all units check out and have available to them a beanbag shotgun. I'm available for any questions if you have any.
Did you make a recommendation about the accessibility of the beanbag shotguns? Because sometimes they were in the trunk because we didn't have the mounts.
That's correct. We didn't make a recommendation. We're aware from our discussions with the department on this topic that they are considering moving the beanbags to the front of the car, and that apparently the standard shotgun that has been used for so long is becoming less of a viable use of force for the department. That's not my area of expertise, and the department can probably comment on that.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Commander John Sherman from the Office of Operations. And with me is Captain Paul Espinosa from Training Division. I'll answer most of any operational questions you may have, and our Training Division oversees our weapon testing and acquisition and those sorts of things. Specifically, Mr. Sobroff, to your question relative to weapon systems being available in the passenger compartment of the vehicle, yes, that is a project that's underway. Presently, we have 537 vehicles in our fleet that have a multi-weapon carrier in the passenger compartment of the vehicle. So we aren't completely outfitted. Obviously, there's some fiscal considerations, but that
How many don't? 537 do, how many don't? Is that half?
No, it's not hacked. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,400 black and white patrol vehicles. Yes, sir. And we spoke yesterday with our motor transport, and they are working on it. It's a budgeted item, and they are trying to outfit all new vehicles as well as outfitting the older vehicles, specific to that question that you just asked. Would you like me to speak on the other recommendations from the Inspector General's office?
Sure. Anything you'd like to comment on? I didn't have any other questions. It was pretty
I'm
self-explanatory.
interested in your thoughts on the recommendations.
Very well. Relative to the KIDS program, which is specifically an inventory management system that allows us to scan and barcode equipment so we can track where it's at. We agree with the Inspector General's observation that we should have an accountability mechanism for who has what equipment out in the field. We don't believe that KIDS is the program for that, and we don't believe that our current mechanism of how we operate with officers going out to the field every day, lining up at the kit room, that is the fix for it. But we do have some other solutions that are in the works or are already activated. One being, yes, sir.
Do you guys know that?
I was not aware of that specific item, but we wouldn't have any objection to a system that would provide the accountability.
Okay, good. Do you want to come back to us in a period of time with your fix on that item? If you want to do something.
You already know it now?
Yes, I know the fix now.
Okay.
And we can also come back. What we have is we have two things that are taking place. The first is we're in possession of an increase in the number of tasers that we have. We have 4,100 additional tasers in hand. Those are going to be deployed out in the field in the next couple of weeks. When they're deployed out in the field, the officers are going to have a much greater accessibility to their tasers. Presently, the mechanism during the audit period, there were occasions where we didn't have enough tasers in the kit room because they were assigned out to individual officers, and we didn't have a large enough inventory to cover each individual officer, as well as having a reserve in the kit room to be issued out. That problem is going to be resolved by the issuance of these new tasers that we've received.
And excuse the kill.
Secondly,
Excuse me, can you please stop disrupting the meeting?
You're disrupting.
Ma'am, in the glasses, you're disrupting.
You know my name.
I do not know your name.
Jyoti.
Okay, Jyoti, if you disrupt again, I'm going to ask you to leave. And sir, if you disrupt the meeting again, I'm going to ask you to leave too.
You're going to ask him to leave, but not me.
I asked both of you.
Oh, okay.
I've given you both warnings, and if you disrupt again, I'm going to ask you to leave. So please, if you have something to say, submit a comment card. You can still submit a comment card on this item. It's not too late.
secondly, the KIDS program, when we individually issue a piece of equipment to an officer and he or she retains it, that will be in the KIDS system. That will be able to be looked at, as well as having a reserve. And then the third item is our evidence.com system, which is our review mechanism that we use, has evolved quite a bit in the last year or so, and it's the system we use for body-worn video. We are taking all 7,000 or 7,500 of our tasers, and we're entering them to evidence.com, which will also be employee-based. So it'll be by an employee's name that they have this specific taser with them. And I believe will answer all the concerns that the Inspector General had about being able to determine who has a taser and who doesn't. Additionally, we are looking, and Chief Moore and I have been drilling down to what the computer screen, when the officers log on, onto the computer and for their dispatch, we need to refine some of the groups in there, and we're working on that and with our communications folks to get that log-on screen a little easier to use. For instance, with the taser, it presently has one box, which is what was identified in the audit, and we're going to put 2 boxes in there, those sorts of things. So I really believe that this issue is resolved relative to the kit system and being able to identify who has that specific piece of equipment.
Are you comfortable with that solution?
Yes, I am. We're generally aware that the department was looking at more tasers, and that would certainly be an effective way to handle the problem.
Great.
Relative to the second recommendation, relative to the inventory of beanbag shotguns,
You're a serious joke.
A little larger of a problem because we don't have enough, and there's some fiscal issues associated with that in obtaining more weapons. We believe in order to outfit every single black and white out there would cost us about $500,000 to get all the equipment out in the vehicles.
How many additional, is that the cost of the shotguns or a cost of the mounting equipment, or both?
That's the cost of the weapon itself. Not the mounting system was a different issue that I was speaking on earlier. This is essentially to...
How many additional shotguns is that?
About 1,100. We presently have 552 beanbag shotguns in our inventory. And
How many?
What did you say that was on?
500,000. How many did you say we currently have?
550.
We have 550, and we need another 1,100, so we basically have a third of what we need.
If we're able to then put them out in every vehicle. The other component to this is we are in the midst of a pilot program where we are looking at a different tool, a 40 millimeter, similar to a beanbag shotgun, but a different tool. That pilot is underway in 4 area commands and Metropolitan Division. It is not finished yet. It hasn't been evaluated, but we have had a number of uses of that weapon system, and it has been successful as a less lethal munition that may be very valuable. So what we may do in evaluating that is the department may choose to take a different path with a different weapon than the beanbag shotgun, which is a weapon system that's been around for a very long time, and there may be a better tool out there. So that, and Captain Espinosa is overseeing that evaluation. Should you have any specifics relative to that? But like I said, that is not complete yet.
When is that evaluation going to be
The
completed?
end of this month. So that will be, we did a 90-day pilot, so the end of this month, and we will put gathering our information on that right now, and then also breaking down the uses of it.
When will you be in a position to come back to the commission and give us a report on the results of that test?
I would say if you could give us approximately a month or so, we should have that. Most of the data, it's just a matter of putting together the final report.
Commissioner, I'd ask for 60 days. I think the internal review of this, that weapon system is an evolution for less lethal. We do have hopes and high hopes, but we want to ensure that we look at that closely and determining the transition from a beanbag shotgun less lethal solution to 40 millimeter is quite an investment, both in training as well as in procurement of the equipment and carriages and so forth. So I think 30 days is ambitious, and I'd ask for 60.
Okay.
Are other departments using them already?
They are. I can't tell you exactly who is right now, but other departments do use them.
And Metro has used them for a while, right?
And Metro does use them, and there are different options as far as their launching systems and different things, but Metro does use them.
Commander Sherman, you also discussed the effort with Training Division to repurpose existing shotguns to deepen the availability of beanbag shotguns, as well as the advisory notice relative to the issuance of the available shotgun, beanbag shotgun.
So if you want to speak on the repurposing of the current shotguns, that's just a concept of taking an existing shotgun and changing it, which has a cost associated with it. You have to change the barrel. And then we would lose our inventory of shotguns, but Captain Espinosa can speak on that.
Yes, sir. So we have a lot more shotguns than we do beanbag shotguns, just department-wide. The approximate cost of a beanbag shotgun is right around $700. The approximate cost to convert a shotgun into a beanbag shotgun is approximately $373. So we could do some of those at a lesser cost, but we would have to look at the overall impacts on the department as far as within operations and then department-wide as to where we would be taken from, because the shotgun itself is a tool that we also need.
So currently, Office of Operations has asked Office of Administrative Service. There's a belief that there's a surplus that we have with the other weapon systems that are at the department's disposal. So Training Division currently is assessing whether or not there is a surplus or an available reserve that we could repurpose for beanbag shotguns. In addition to that, just to cut this to bring this to a close, the Office of Operations is also issuing a reminder of our expectation that all available beanbag shotguns be deployed into the field whenever feasible. So our expectation will be reinforced. As a reminder to the Commission, approximately 2.5 years ago, the Department Office of Operations, then First Assistant Chief Earl Paysinger, directed office personnel to take less lethal, whenever possible, less lethal tools. At that point, it was tasers and beanbag. A year ago, the organization moved to require all uniformed personnel, non-supervisory, to carry tasers, so that was a further strengthening or deepening of less lethal options. Today, we'll be issuing guidance that the expectation is that all available beanbag shotguns in a station are dispatched into the field. That will be a further strengthening with our eventual pursuit of achieving equipment to long range is to look at our vehicles, to load all these systems into cars. Like we have spare tires in vehicles. Currently, as you visit our stations, you see our officers carry suitcases of material back and forth. And so that's one of the hindrances of officers carrying all this material. It's just, frankly, the amount of material they carry back and forth. Long range, and talking with Chief Beck, the desire is to get a patrol-ready vehicle that has this equipment systems already pre-installed. All of this will, of course, hinge on the availability of funding, because none of these, whether it's a shotgun mount, allowing a beanbag shotgun to be positioned up front, in excess of $500,000 to do that for the department. You've heard today in excess of $500,000 to acquire additional beanbags. I'm sure that it's much greater than that for a 40-millimeter system, and if we were to pre-stage everything again, these costs would go up. So we'll look to the Commission's support as these plans unfold. Great, thank you.
And that was the third recommendation.
Right. So, Mr. Tiefenek, we have a change to the first recommendation. How best to address that? Can we just say that the department will identify, will have a system in place to identify the specific officer to who the taser is checked out?
What I would suggest, sir, is that you approve the report as written with a report back in 60 days on recommendation number 1 and also on the evaluation of the 40-millimeter round.
Okay.
That way you're including both of them in the same report.
Someone want to make that motion?
We have 4 public comment cards.
Let's call it. So we have a motion and a second, and let's call the comment.
Okay, we have 6 comment cards. We have Jerry Dietrich, General Jeff, and Michael Novick.
Jerry Dietrich with Stop LAPD Spine Coalition. Anyhow, I was reading this report, and it's a little bit confusing to me. Maybe you guys can understand it, but anyhow, on page 2, it says OIG found sufficient number of tasers for each officer to have one. Yet on page 5, the training unit supervisor from 7 areas said there were sufficient tasers. So I don't understand. Are there or are there not? Anyhow, that's all about the tasers, I have to say, really. And the beanbags, of 58 supervisors, only 3 checked out a beanbag shotgun. It's on page 6. I don't understand that. I mean, I would think 58 supervisors would all check them out, but that's just my opinion. And on your recommendations, it seems to me like if 2 and 3 you can put them together, and it seems like if you had enough tasers for everybody, you wouldn't have to have this one that says when available. That's all I have to say about that. And 2 things I would like to say are no drones and get rid of Beck.
Yeah.
Thank you for your comments. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is General Jeff. I saw Commissioner Goldsmith out in the lobby before the meeting. I just wanted first time meeting you. Welcome. As far as the annual LAPD budget is $1.5 billion, so it's quite troubling to hear the department's presentation today and say that they don't have the necessary equipment already in place. When we hear of the officer-involved shootings, officer-involved killings, officer-involved murders, however you want to define them, many times you hear that the tasers did not work. So nowhere in this presentation did we hear about any specificity regarding the modifications or the type of taser units themselves, whether they have adjustment capabilities in terms of the strength of the voltage that can be manipulated in any way, form, or fashion by each individual officer, because if they can manipulate the units and turn down the voltage, then that could be justification for them saying the tasers didn't work. Hence, they had to go to another level of weaponry, which then often leads to an officer-involved shooting, and so which then therefore also can include death. And so we, the people, are concerned about these actual taser units and what the companies, the manufacturing, we need more specificity in terms of the details of the taser units, you know, which also may factor in on the cost. But at $1.5 billion, we would like to know that this commission is doing everything possible to keep we the people alive in regards to tasers working appropriately. Thank you.
Michael Novick.
Good morning. I'm glad to see that all the boys here still like to talk about their toys.
Excellent, General Jones.
I think that a couple of points. One is that the police need to be disarmed, not armed further. The original police force, the Bobbies, operated without guns for a couple of centuries, and there's no reason why the LAPD has to have more and more and more weapons. If you think that, quote-unquote, less lethal weapons is the solution to the problem of police killings, you're sorely mistaken. If I was inquiring of the Inspector General of this report, the first question I would ask is they look at not random use of these or assignment of these so-called tools that the Assistant Chief called them. But I would say the Inspector General should have looked at the case of the murder of Riddell Jones and the case of the murder of Ezell Ford to find out whether those officers had any options besides shooting to kill. In those situations, you had 60-some-odd people killed by the LAPD in the last 3 years. The Inspector General should have looked at every one of those cases and seen whether those officers had the option to use something less lethal, quote-unquote. Less lethal means it's still lethal, and that's why I don't support it. But the idea of spending, $500,000 to outfit people with additional weapons on top of the weapons they already have is not the solution. The solution is changing the entire relationship of policing in the city. And the last thing I want to say is that if you listen to all these reports, public comments, and then you go, the motion is on the table, all in favor say aye, you're derelict in your duty. After you listen to these comments, you should inquire further of the Inspector General and the rest of these officers here and respond to what the public is saying to you and take your responsibility to represent the public seriously, and then send this report back for reevaluation so they can look at those 60-some-odd people you've killed in the last 3 years, whether those cops had something else they could have used instead of shooting to kill.
Wow.
Thank you. The next three speakers, Billy Davenport, Tiffany Guerra, and Beth Kemp.
Good morning. My name is Billy Davenport. I wanted to, just for the sake of all of us here in the community, not everyone in the community is bad, just like not every cop is a saint. I mean, it's impressive to see the Los Angeles Police Department wanting to use more stunning weaponry instead of more lethal weaponry. But the question is, the lethal weapons are actually more accessible and more attainable. They're easier to get to. The gun on the hip as opposed to a beanbag or a taser. And a gun is more likely to be used in interaction with a cop and a citizen. So what I'd like to say is, if we are going to use less lethal weapons, or if the police are going to use less lethal weapons, couldn't they be placed somewhere where they're as easily accessible
Before the action.
as the lethal weapons? And
That's not a news, man.
at what point do we hold the police accountable for the misuse of such weaponry, even the lethal weaponry? Like, at what point does it become a cop's accountability on whether to use which? Or I would have thought that police training would help them to be able to make decisions on which weapon to use. But, according to news and what's going on in our community, it looks like they're ready to pull the lethal weapon out before they're ready to pull anything to stun. And in a lot of cases, a lot of people could have been shot in the leg or shot in the arm instead of just totally killed over such a disagreement between a citizen and a cop. And a cop should be able to serve the community properly instead of combating them.
Tiffany Guerra.
Good morning. So I wasn't planning on speaking on this item, but I felt compelled to, just listening to some of the information that you all were putting forward. What I don't understand, and maybe I missed some of the background information on this, is why there's this assumption, there's this huge assumption made that equipping every car with beanbag shotguns and tasers, every officer, that will reduce violence or make for a more peaceful and better community. I don't understand. You're talking about weaponry, it's a weaponry system, and you're all getting very engaged in the details of exactly how many is it and where will they be mounted, will they be easily accessible. You're talking about using weapons, making sure every cop car and every cop has weapons to use on the citizens, and that is somehow, we're supposed to just accept that is a way to reduce violence. Where is the research that's been done to show that? And I mean that. I don't, you all, I'm talking to you as well, sitting here at the table. Hello. Where's the research that's been done to show that actually, when you use weapons on people like that overall that reduces crime and makes for a better community.
Wow.
And I mean that. I'm not, this isn't just, where's that research? Has that been done? I would hope that would be done somewhere.
Miss, we're not allowed to give you full explanations, but yes, that research has been done. They're available online. If you reach back to us outside this meeting, I'll be happy to give you that information.
I sincerely, I'm not even being like a smart ass about it. I would really be interested to see that, because it's like this assumption is made that if there's more crime in areas, and we see this, in all your reports, your use of force reports, it's the assumption that if there's more crime, let's put more police officers in there. And it's like, why is that assumption made? And then, then we need more weapons. Let's make sure they have beanbag shotguns and everyone has a taser. Meanwhile, people are being killed with tasers. Last year, 48 people were killed with tasers. So we don't even know that your police officers are trained. Well, we see that they're not trained. We see that they're not trained well to respond. Or we're giving all this money to give them extra weapons. It just doesn't make sense.
Yes.
First,
Boy, is that good reasoning.
This guy here, Espinoza, is in charge of training. He should be fired. Because whenever they pull out these less lethal weapons, where do they aim? They aim for our faces. How do I know this? Because Art Walk 2012, those 40mm grenades you're talking about, a young man was shot in the eye and almost lost his eye and had to have surgery. And another young man was shot 4 times in the chest with internal bleeding and internal damage. This is a grenade that is 1.5 inches long by 2.5 inches wide and is compacted for impact and does extreme internal damage. Now the beanbag guns, let's go there. I got shot with one in the face in 2013. The beanbag exploded and shrapnel hit me everywhere. It missed both of my eyes by fractions of an inch. My entire chest and my arms were covered, and 4 of us got shot with that one beanbag and looked like we had just come out of duck hunt. Okay? If he's in charge of training people, then why are they aiming them at our faces? Just last Friday on a mental health call, instead of responding with a mental health evaluation unit, LAPD Central Division responded with 30 officers for a mentally ill man with two tear gas guns and a less lethal, again, pointed at our faces.
Yeah.
Since the cops don't know how to use these, I suggest maybe you start looking up the damage these weapons do to people. Look on Google, there's plenty of pictures. Look at what these actually do to people and the long-term damage this suffers. I agree with other speakers. Cops don't need to be armed. And if you're talking about leaving them in cop cars, how often do these cop cars get stolen? How often do they leave their trunks open where people could grab the things that are out of their cars? Give me a break. The last thing we need is the cops putting more weapons on the street to hurt people instead of helping a community. They are not working here to protect and serve anything other than capitalism, rich people, and white supremacy.
Sorry.
We have a motion and a second.
I have my speaker card.
She's a speaker card.
I have my speaker card.
Are you speaking, Ruth?
I had it, I sent it in.
You can during the public comment. Okay, so
But you're voting on it now.
Give Give us 2 minutes.
Asking the Inspector General some more questions first before you vote. I put in my comment card.
Give us 2 minutes.
Who'd you give it to?
I gave it to this officer right here. We actually gave it back to me.
Give us 2 minutes.
Was his card in or not?
I don't see a card for him, sir.
So let's...
He's an honest gentleman.
I had my card in. I got crazy.
There you go.
Ask the officer.
I suggest you don't vote on this until you actually look at what these weapons do.
Next.
We have item number 2B, we have...
Wow.
Wow.
Comments?
There's the man.
General Justice?
Refuse speaking.
Relative to the grant application award for the 2016-2017 minor decoy shoulder tap.
Do we have any questions of the department? Does anybody want that? Presentation. Yes, sir.
Just, we the people make a recommendation, hi, my name is General Jeff for the record. We the people make a recommendation that when an agenda says, and this specifically says for the 2016 minor decoy / shoulder tap grant program, that when this item comes up to be discussed, that we the people can be better engaged in terms of inclusion. Can we get a brief description of exactly of maybe a one-line or a two-sentence introduction of what the program is? I have no idea if it's minor decoy as it's like a small decoy, or if it's minor decoy as it's about minors as in youth. And so then we can go on and guesstimate all we want, but it would only be fair, this is a Brown Act meeting, and you want to include we the people, can we get some type of a descriptive introduction before the presentations and discussion? Thank you.
Wow.
Yes, General Jeff, you're well aware that the agendas are posted online on Friday. The documents are all available under the Brown Act, the complete document, the complete grant document, and also in the back of the room, copies of the reports are there. The copies of the reports are available to review in our office.
No, they aren't.
They're not. They're not there.
You guys don't do your homework.
There's a copy of the reports in the back.
No, sir.
Get on the machine.
Come back here yourself.
Get the report back
I'm standing right here.
We're crazy. We're all crazy in this. We don't know what we're talking about.
If the binder is not there, then someone picked the binder up.
No, they did not. I was first one in here, never here. Don't lie to the public, sir.
Appreciate it.
Don't say what you don't know.
So,
Typical.
to respond,
How do you?
I'm trying to listen to. Thought you
to respond,
I'm tired of lies. How about you?
based on the information.
Why don't you get real?
That's your last warning.
Have some respect.
Let General Jeff speak. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. So now, all due respect, Mr. Tefrank, when you say that the binder and the information is in the back, there isn't enough time, simply isn't enough time for each of the public to do the necessary research to even understand the specifics on terms of what this is. If we're very late in the saying, they begin at 9 o'clock, at 10 at a time, then to fill out the necessary speaker cards prior to the meeting started. The meeting starts at 9:30, and we still have to do research and take ample time to go through. I mean, it just isn't enough ample time. All of us, I live in Skid Row, all of us don't have access to computers and have 24-hour access in terms of the information being posted online from Friday till this morning.
Yes, sir.
We have a motion for approval. You turn your card to this one?
You're excellent. Jeez, you're really good, dude.
Tells you.
I love it.
You also turn your card on what? Either she turned one or she didn't turn one.
I don't have one.
So we'll take your next one and you can speak at public comment.
3 of them took off. They've never got a quorum, you know that? Look at this.
Second, all those in favor? Okay. And next up is, where are we?
2D, sir. We have one comment card. We have 2D, application for the 2016 intellectual property enforcement grant.
Can you talk a little bit about enforcement at the street level versus at the manufacturing distributor level, and what relevance that has to
Good morning, Commissioner. I'm Captain Cynthia Williams, and I'm also the
I'm speaking to the mic a little better, thanks.
Good morning. I am going to turn that over to Detective Ishitani. He's the OIC of that unit.
Good morning, Board of Commissioners. To answer your question now, the street level enforcement is usually handled by the area vice units, and those are the street vendors that are dealing with the counterfeit handbags and watches, and also goes up to the counterfeit pharmaceutical drugs that are being sold in the streets of Kansas. Any health and safety products that are being sold. Our unit is in a level where you just mentioned the distribution point, where it comes from our ports and it comes from mail. Any mail transit locations in conjunction with Custom Border Protection, Homeland Security Investigation, and with the FBI. Our unit is class-deputized as FBI agents, so we are allowed to actually board, not board ships, but open these containers to inspect them to verify that these items are not being sent in our ports in the sanctions area.
Okay, let's hear the public comments.
We have General Jeff.
And that's it? Okay. Jeff, hold on. Jeff, you're up.
What item is this, sir?
2D,
2B? D as in dog?
application for the 2016-2018 intellectual property enforcement grant.
Thank you. The topic is intellectual property enforcement. And, I have a issue where 2 years ago in 2014, actually 2015, it was last year. It was the end of 2014 where the Central Division Los Angeles Police Department used my intellectual property, which is, I'm wearing it on a t-shirt, the Skid Row City Limit mural. They used it in fundraising opportunities along with the Los Angeles Police Foundation to raise funds to get weapons and other materials to criminalize the homeless folks in Skid Row. So now, that to me is so disrespectful that a mural that was created for the people, of the people, and by the people of Skid Row, and we're talking about the residents, many of which were homeless, we painted this mural on the San Julian Street between 5th Street and 6th Street in Skid Row, and then for LAPD to not only pull their car up and stand out and take photos, because it's an iconic mural that people come from all over the world, just like they come to see the Hollywood sign, and that's its true intention. But when you see the LAPD Photoshop and manipulate the actual photos and the art that was created by Skid Row residents, the very communities that individuals that they say they protect and serve, and then to manipulate and misuse and abuse our intellectual property for a monetary gain for the department to then turn around and criminalize us and Photoshop it to where they wiped out who actually created the mural, any of our signatures as any mural is, and there's so much. They didn't even contact me in terms of getting a licensee, an agreement to get permission if it was okay to use it in any shape, form, or fashion, just out of respect for the community. When they know it's my project, they know it's my mural, and then to generate tens of thousands of dollars and not even contribute any art supplies for the community. There's a lot of different options that could have happened. And so when we talk about this intellectual property grant, we need more respect to the community. Thank you.
That's right. General Jeff, I'd like to see some of the photographs of that whenever you can.
Indeed, I have a package. How do I get it to you?
Through your friend, Mr. Keith, or leave it at that restaurant. What's it called? Blue Hamburger?
Blue Cafe.
Blue Cafe.
Thank you.
We have a motion for approval. All in favor?
We're on 2E. We have 4 public cards.
I'm sorry?
We have 4 public comment cards for 2E.
Okay.
Upgrade of the jail video system to keep video for city and required retention
Do you
schedule.
have any questions or? Go ahead, Commissioner.
Can you tell us what we do with the video when there's a death in custody or use of force complaint from telling citizens?
Good morning, Commissioner Tom Brown, and the way we get requests on from the
What do you hear back to us?
or after a use of force event or any event that happens, we verify that we actually have it because of the limited time that we actually retain video. We have to give us as much information as possible.
Mr. Brennan, can you talk? Can you read a little closer to the microphone? You can't hear in the back.
Is this better? Okay, sorry about that. The video is pulled and then is retained and it's given to whatever entity is investigating the incident at the time. Once it's pulled off the system, it can be retained for as long as necessary. The issue that we have right now is that the system only retains video for 30 days, so if we don't get that request before the video system starts rewriting over the DVR, then we have an issue with losing the video.
What a joke.
Okay?
Oh, boy.
We have 5, we have 6. We have Tiffany Guerra, Billy Davenport, and Jamie Garcia.
So I was confused and also disturbed when I read the letter from Charlie Beck to this commission board regarding the upgrade of the video system. I was confused because we consistently see Charlie Beck held up in the press as being a model leader, an innovative leader, and the LAPD as held up as being a model police force for the nation. But then in this letter, he's basically admitting that the video system has not been up to code for several years now. It was falling very short, and it's going to need another $1.4 million, how much is it? $1.4 million to fix the system so that it will be up to code, and that still won't happen until 2019, which of course, in the meantime, so this is a city, again, that's being held up as a model police force, but he's failing dramatically to even comply with the most basic city code that has been in place for years now. And I was distressed, so that confused me, first of all. And then I was distressed when I considered how the focus is on upgrading this system and not on giving answers to the family of Lakeisha Wilson, thinking about how he failed that family in particular. On June 7th, Charlie Beck told this police commission that officials had reviewed the video footage from that day, and he said it appears that checks were made in compliance with regulations. So then I was wondering again, if that was an instance where the videotape clearly did not fail because he said it was viewed and apparently checks were made, as he states, then why is it now 7 months later and we still don't know what happened? So you're wanting to make upgrades to this video system, you're asking for $1.4 million to do it, but you're failing to, in an instance when you say you have the video, you saw the video, checks were in compliance, it's 7 months later and you still can't tell us what happened.
Interstate commerce, the Hobbs Act government. Organized crime. I know my shit. I banged you people 3 times here already today.
My argument was similar to the one that just spoke. How do we upgrade a system, upgrade a failing system that's continuing to be a failure? And then listening to this gentleman, he explained that only the agencies that want to review the footage are able to view the footage. And what happens when something happens and there's not an agency that wants to view it? Does that footage get tossed out? Or is there anyone that's going to be able to pick that footage up and say, "Ooh, look what just happened here"? I've been in LA County Jail before. I know exactly there's wrongdoing all over that place, from the deputies to the CEOs to anybody else. And if that camera catches them doing anything without an agency requesting to see that, how do we know that that camera system is catching some injustice in the jail system? I mean, even if let's say hypothetically an inmate attacks a cop, you know what I mean? I bet they can utilize that system to pinpoint exactly which inmate did it and how he did it from each particular angle. But if, say, a cop does the same thing and there's not an agency that wants to review that footage, does he just go home?
Yeah, no, it gets raised.
That's just my question for you guys.
Amy Garcia, followed by General Jeff, Michael Williams, Melina Abdullah, and George Bazell.
Ms. Lisa Hines lost her child in custody of LAPD and Metropolitan Detention Center. And just as stated before, we still are very unclear about what has occurred. It appears that there is extensive noncompliance on the use of video in the jail system. Not only was the video not retained for appropriate amount of time, which should be 2 years, but only for 30 days, but let us also remember that MDC was at least 80% out of compliance for safety checks, which was stated in the original report that came out after Waukesha Wilson was taken from us. Waukesha Wilson died in your custody, which is a devastating example of how dangerous it is to be held in your custody. Now we are talking about $1.1 million to replace a camera system. Another devastating example of how LAPD squanders the community's money. This compliance issue is a facade and an empty reform that is a media attempt to hide the inherent violence entailed in interacting with LAPD. These jails need to be closed,